Hello guys, top of the morning, top of the evening, top of the night, wherever you are watching me from. Thank you for tuning into this video one more time. It's your boy Kish, Kevo Kish the DJ, and I'm here to do a small recap of how it went down in Mexico. It's been, I was in Mexico for a couple of good days, like 2-3 weeks, and just thought let me let me give you a recap and a rewind of how things went down, of like just the basics of how it went. So keep it locked to this video. Remember, thank you so much for everybody who's sharing my videos, who's watching my videos, and who's subscribing to my videos. Yeah man, keep subscribing because I need to get to that 1,000 mark so that we can keep growing and becoming better and better and better and get some ching at the side. All right, so support a brother right here, man. Support a brother right here. We're gonna be doing more travel. It's gonna be fun and amazing, so thanks for keeping it locked. So to start with, I know there's one question a lot of people have been asking me, like wondering why Mexico? Of all the places in the world, why Mexico, you know? And the reason why we chose Mexico is quite simple, you know, because it's been a pandemic here and it's been so many restrictions here and there and just too much happening everywhere. So there was this time Jackie and I were thinking we need to plan a trip to go somewhere, because and we didn't want to go to Europe because we've been to Europe severally, you know, so we wanted to think about going somewhere outside of Europe. And so we thought about different options, and we actually went on Google and we found countries that do not require COVID tests, COVID requirements, quarantine and all that stuff. And guess what? Mexico showed up, and we read about Mexico. They don't require jack. Like, all you need to do is just get yourself there. No COVID test, no quarantine, no vaccination, no nothing. Like, you just need to like get up and go. And that was a very nice, you know, lucrative idea. So we decided to start reading about Mexico, start googling about Mexico, where to go, where not to go, and we discovered the Riviera Maya. Oh my gosh, the Riviera Maya. It was a really good choice. I am very much content with the choice that we made, and it's been worth every single moment. So we initially had planned to go to Tulum, because Tulum is the most popular destination right now because of, you know, it's become a really big Instagram sensation. But then I talked to some few friends of mine who've been to Mexico and just read a bit here and there, and people suggested that check out other places, because Tulum is like super touristy and it's super expensive also. So you can get much better, you know, experiences from other places that's much cheaper. And that's why we decided to go to Cancun first. And oh my gosh, what a good choice. Cancun, we stayed in Cancun for a while, then we went to Playa del Carmen for the rest of the stay, and back to Cancun. And in those times, when you Cancun, you can go to like Isla Mujeres, you know, and when you're in Valladolid, when you're in Playa del Carmen, you can go for a trip to Tulum like we did. You can go to Cozumel Island. So it was a really fine choice. So that is number one why we decided that it was Mexico. So that was the reason, that was the main reason, you know. And also, you know, in Sweden it's really expensive for the COVID test, so we saved a lot of money, which we used for some other things by going there. Yes, another question that I've been getting, or I'd like to express how it went by, is the process of coming into the country, like the visas. Well, the thing is, if you are a citizen of Sweden, no, if you are a citizen of the European Union, you do not need any visas to get into Mexico. Excuse me. Yeah, you just walk in and everything is good. But if you're coming out of the European Union, you might need to check where you're coming from, but you might need a visa. Currently, I am a holder of a Kenyan passport, so I did need a visa. Oh yeah, and another thing, if you have a US visa, then you do not need a visa into Mexico. Like, I don't know how they go about it, but if you have a US visa, you can just go in. But I did not have a US visa, neither did I have a European passport, so I had to apply for the visa. But it's a really, really smooth process. Like, I don't know, it was one of the most easiest visa I got, because you just go online, you fill in the form, then you send them an email telling them that you filled the form and the steps. Then they send you an email back with all the requirements that you need. Then you gather out the requirements, and then they call you in for an appointment. And that's exactly what I did. So I filled in the form online, and then I sent it to the embassy, and then they sent me an email, and I went with my documents like passport. Oh yeah, the requirements, you might need to be careful with this, because that's where they might deny you. You need to show you have a job, like, or an asset, or like something of financial value in your home country. So for me here in Sweden, I gave them my work contract, so that it shows that you have, you can sustain yourself while there and you won't be in problems. Then they'll ask you for 6 months pay slips, and you have to have an equivalent of, I think it was 14,000 Swedish krona after tax. So like you have to show that after taxes you earn a minimum of about 15,000, 14,000, which is like about 200,000 Kenyan shillings after tax. Yeah, so if you show them that and you show them your work contract, then you're good to go. Nothing more, I think. Yeah, you just pay, and then you just go and take a passport photo, and then you get your visa immediately, because there's nothing more. They just look at your papers, they look everything, they approve it, then boom, you get your visa and you can go. And actually it's very funny, they give you multiple entry visas. So even if I wanted to go back to Cancun in the next, was it 6 months, I can just go in with no problem. But yeah, so that's good, it's multiple entry. So you can also visit other countries if you want, or you can go back if you want with no visa requirement. So that's how the visa process was, and you pay 400 Swedish krona, which is an equivalent of like 5,000 if you're from Kenya, Kenyan shillings, and like $35, something like that in the US. So that's the visa process for non-EU holders. But check, of course, the specifics for your country. I know there's people watching from the Americas, you don't need a visa. Like if you're watching from, I don't know, anywhere, just check your country specific in advance. Yes, next was the flighting and ticketing. So I want to show you how we check for flights, or how I check for flights the best way. How we did it on this trip is that we go to our website called skyscanner.com, but I use the Swedish version, so it's skyscanner.se if you're from Sweden, and it sums up like a different bunch of flights, and it gives you like the cheapest ones, the best ones, the shortest ones, the most, all this stuff. So I just went to Skyscanner, and I saw like from Sweden, or this one was from Denmark actually, from Copenhagen to Cancun, and then you get a whole bunch of flights there. Then another thing I did is going to Google Flights also on checking, because sometimes depending on how the search motor is and the search engine is, you can get different prices. Then you look for those ones and you see the best ones. But here is a pro tip which I recommend for you. Always look at the Google Flights there, or the Skyscanner. Then you see which airline is offering the flights. Then go directly to the airline and book from there, because that way you get other advantages. Like for example, you get flexibility in changing your flights. In case of anything that they have to cancel your flight, it's easier for them to refund you, and so forth, and you get in touch directly with the flight. It becomes a bit expensive if you're not using an agent like from these websites, but at the end of the day, it's worth it, because it's a good risk, So yeah, so that's what we did. And then we found TAP Air. And TAP Air, the good thing with TAP Air also, it flies direct from Europe, from Portugal. TAP Air is the official airline of Portugal, direct to Cancun, because other flights had to go through the US, and to go through the US you also need a visa, US visa. which is another bunch of stress which you don't want to go through. Yeah, so we flew direct from Portugal to Cancun, and we actually got the extra economy class because it was a long flight. We were very lucky for that. So now we had extra leg room. So it was really pleasant. Like, man, you couldn't feel that you had been on a 16-hour flight, and you couldn't feel so much of the tiredness and the jet lag. So those are my ways that I search for flights. Go to Skyscanner or Momondo even, or to Google Flights. Then check the cheapest ones, and if you want to be flexible or maybe you're a bit unsure, go to check that flight and then go to their website and look for the same flight. At least you know how much it costs. It might be a little bit more expensive, but it's somehow better. But if you're sure about your journey and stuff, just book with the agents. They're much cheaper. Trust me, I always do that also. I like, it depends on where I'm going. Yes. Yeah. Then the next thing people were asking is about housing and how much it costs, blah blah blah. So housing, the best thing that I always recommend is Airbnb. Airbnbs are really good because you have your own space, you have your own your own feel, and they are usually much better prices. Sometimes we also do hotels. Sometimes I prefer to do a hotel because, you know, if you just want to have like a chill morning, you don't have to think about anything, they come with breakfast, it's also good. But for this trip to Mexico, we got 3 Airbnbs. Yes, and the first one was in Cancun, the next one was in Playa del Carmen, and the third one was back in Cancun. So we decided to go bougie on the other one of Playa del Carmen because, you know, sometimes you gotta live good, you know. So it was more expensive. But if I can say the first Airbnb, I'm just gonna confirm how much it cost. So the first Airbnb cost 2,800, about 2,800 Swedish krona. So you can do your calculations how much that is in dollars. I'm not really good at this, but I can put it down there. Or in Kenyan shillings, 2007 is about 30,000. So yeah, that was the first one, and it was for 1 week, I think. So it was a pretty good deal for Cancun. Yeah, it was a pretty good deal, and it was nice because it was close to the center of Cancun. It was close to the ferry if you want to go to Isla Mujeres. Yeah, it was in a good area, restaurants around, so that was good. But then on the other one, when we went to Playa del Carmen, that's when we decided to do a little bit more bougie, and for that Airbnb we paid 4,200 about 4,200 Swedish krona, and that was about, it's almost double, but not so much anyway. So yeah, that one was nice, really nice. You know, it came with like a swimming pool and a balcony and you know, all these utilities. Like, it was really modern state, and it was like really in the center of Cancun, or of Playa del Carmen. It's a walking distance to 5th Avenue. It was like very close to the buses, and it was really enjoyable. But the rooftop pool was the cream of the crop. Yes. And so that's the one thing that we really enjoyed. Then we went back to Cancun for 2 nights, and we paid only 552 Swedish krona, and that's about 5,000. So man, that was housing, and that's how much it cost. And of course Airbnb is always king. Make sure, a tip for Airbnb, make sure you always leave the houses clean. Make sure you try and clean it as much as you can, so that when the owner comes, they give you a good rating. And if they give you a good rating, then you get more accepted when you go and search for Airbnbs. But if you're gonna go and misbehave, you'll get a low rating, and people will not accept you in their Airbnbs. Yes. Otherwise, when we take hotels, booking.com is really very good. You can check it out if you wanna go. Yes. Next one is the travel requirements before entering Mexico. Now, I know I talked about some travel requirements before entering Mexico, which is like no requirements in terms of COVID, and that's one thing. But then the other thing you have to realize is that there's local rules for immigration rules. Yeah. So if you are coming into Mexico, first of all, let me start from Denmark, where it was our point of exit. From Denmark to Portugal, you have to fill in something called a PL form, or a passenger locator form. I don't understand why it's for, but you just have to fill it, and without that you cannot board the flight. Then from passenger locator form to get into Portugal, before you enter into Mexico, you need also to sign to fill in another form, for an immigration form. Yes, and it's called so it's some form that you have to fill in. And here's the catch: this form, they give you forms on the flight, or you can fill them before. But this form, when you get to immigration, they will ask for it, then they will stamp it and show that you have come into the country. But remember, you have to keep that form with you the entire stay, because when you exit Mexico, they will ask for that form, and if you have lost it, ching ching ching, you're gonna get a fine, you're gonna pay. So make sure you keep it safe, keep it together with a passport or something. Make sure it's like always somewhere you can see, because that form is really important. And another thing I forgot to mention, when you book a flight with whichever airline you're gonna book with while entering to Mexico, please check and see if the taxes are included, because Mexico has a tourism tax. So what happens is, when you get in the country, nobody asks you any question, they just want this, they check your visa and they check this form that I talked about, they fill it in, then you go. But when you're exiting, there's something called a tourist tax. So you have to be very careful that the flight that you're coming in includes the taxes or not, so that otherwise you might get a shock in the airport, when they tell you to pay taxes for something maybe you didn't expect. Maybe you've spent all your money, you've chopped all your money, and you do not have any money left. So just check with your flight, make sure that they've paid the taxes or not. If they haven't, save some money for that. If they have, well and good. So the ones we got, everything was paid, taxes, nothing, so we didn't have to worry about that. And also with this thing of taxes, it takes time in the airport. So if you are not fast enough, you might miss your flight, if you're not early enough, I mean. So be careful with that. Yes. Another thing is transport within Mexico, transportation in Mexico. Mexico is like a tide. It changes up and down depending on where you are. For example, man, in Cancun, taxis are ridiculously cheap, they're really cheap. So from one point to another, you pay really little money. You pay like 50 pesos or something. It's like, an average distance, 50 pesos, 100 pesos if it's longer. So it's really good. And if you want to be even more cheap, these things called colectivos, which is the local buses, and those ones are even more cheap, my guy. So those ones, so there's two ways to get around: the buses or the taxis. You can hire a car if you want. So we did a mixture of both, because it was fun being in the colectivos, but also sometimes you just you just want to get somewhere fast and you take a taxi. That was in Tulum. That was in Cancun. Go to Tulum and oh my gosh, taxis are expensive. Don't you dare do taxes in Tulum. First of all, they have like a minimum scale and a minimum price, which is 200. Remember, I told you in Cancun you can go from point A to point B, which is quite a distance, with 50-60 pesos. Well, in Tulum is 200. Even if you go from point here to a stone throw away, you're still gonna pay the same price. So we were there, we didn't know about this, and we needed to move around. So we took a couple of taxis, and man, it's cheaper to rent a car and drive yourself when you're in Tulum. So forget about taxis. The best thing, just rent a car. And also, it's very hard. You don't get colectivos there, because the colectivos, I think someone said they have an agreement with the local taxis and stuff, that they only stop for locals. So if they see you're like a tourist, they won't stop for you. They'll just go ahead and carry the locals, because they understand the locals don't have money to pay that money for the taxis. But they see tourists and they see ching ching. Yeah, so that's it. Tulum, taxi, nah, forget about it. Playa del Carmen was also cheap with taxis, but it depends on where you are. That was like both ends. The closer you are to Fifth Avenue, which is the main street in Playa del Carmen, the more expensive it will be. The farther you are from Fifth Avenue, the more cheaper it will be. So best thing is, take a little stroll. It's never cold, it's warm, and then take your taxi from there to wherever you want to go, and that's it. But we didn't take much of taxi or buses. We just took it like once or twice when we were going out for dinner, but because we lived really close to everything, so that's just yes, something. Next thing I'm going to talk about is the living cost. The living cost in Mexico. Food and drink is cheap, man. I don't know, for me, because of I'm coming from a Swedish currency and a Swedish economy. It was really cheap, you know. Like you could eat a whole meal for two people and you wouldn't even pay what you would pay in Sweden for one person's meal, you know. Like you can have a whole meal and you're able to walk and pay an equivalent of like 120 Swedish krona, and that here in Sweden would get you like a pizza only, you know. You would never, and that's like in a nice place, you understand. So yeah, Tulum, forget about Tulum, Cancun and Playa, they are really really nice. They were really cheap, and then also apart from that, there's a bunch of street foods everywhere here and there, and they're also really cheap, and it's really really good food. So food and drinks, yeah. Oh yeah, drinks, let me tell you about drinks. In Mexico, the drinks are watered down, seriously. Like you find like you order a cocktail and it's really good cocktail, you know. You order like a mojito, caipirinha, but then when it comes, it's so much ice and a drop of alcohol. So man, that was not worth it. So they're cheap, but they're not worth it. So if you drink like other things like beer and wine and everything, that's okay, because you know they can't really do nothing about it. But if you're gonna do those things in the club somewhere, yeah, it's just watered down. There's only one place where we found that was in Cozumel. They had the best mojitos and they were like genuine and put real ingredients and real alcohol. But just be warned when you're there. Otherwise, the rest of the drinks are pretty cheap. They are like life there, food, it's cheap. It's cheap. Nothing more to say. Like, I think the entire trip we probably spent money for the food and drinks almost like what we paid for the Airbnb, you know, for the entire trip. Yeah. So yeah, man. Then let's go to the next one. The people. Yes, the people in Mexico are really friendly. They're really good people, you know. And when they see you with like your camera, they're always happy to say hi, always want to give you help and stuff. And we did not experience anything wrong anywhere, you know. We did not experience like people we didn't feel threatened at any point or feel afraid. People are very friendly and helpful and everything. The only thing is that most of them speak Spanish. So if you're a Spanish speaker, you have an advantage to that. And if you're not, whatever you say in English, they'll answer in Spanish. So a bit of communication problem, but we move, we go by. Yes, another thing about Mexico is that it's a country that is very very much high on tips. Like everywhere you go, people want tips. Everywhere you go, like and it's not just like, you know how you go to a restaurant or something or a bar and you get a bill and then it's up to you to tip or not. Then they actually write it in the bill and they underline tips are not included. Some other ones even say 10% tip recommended, you know. And there's even a place where you went, they tell you like you get the bill with options and it says 10%, 15% or 20%, you know. Like tips are so everywhere, in the buses, you know, in pubs, in hotels, when you go to activities, like when you went for parasailing, when they do anything, you name it, there's just tips. They expect tips everywhere. And sometimes, I mean, it's okay to tip, but I felt like it's too much pressure, like on everything. So I wish they could even just include it on the service charge. But anyway, we tipped all the time. It's not really a lot of money when you compare to the Swedish money, but just be prepared. Tipping is so big there. And finally, would I recommend Mexico? And why would I recommend Mexico? Yes, I would highly recommend Mexico, or at least the part where I've been in the Riviera Maya, Tulum, Playa del Carmen, you know, Cozumel, Isla Mujeres. Oh my gosh, like that place has my heart. It's really really nice. There's no way to explain it. I think you've seen the videos and you've seen how beautiful it is. The crystal clear blue waters are out of this world, like nothing I've ever seen, you know. Then the amazing cenotes. I have never seen a cenote anywhere before. I don't know if there's cenotes anywhere else in the world, but they were really really amazing. And the things like Chichen Itza, the world wonder, it was something out of this world, you know, all the acoustics and how it's done. Oh man, I would highly recommend Mexico. If you're thinking about Mexico, don't think twice. Just go walk it. Don't think twice about it, you know. It's totally gonna be worth your time. Just remember to follow these things that I've said. And what to do is a lot of things to do, you know. I've done a bunch of videos on what to do, so I can follow the description there, the links there, and you can see the things to do when you're there in Mexico. So thank you very much for watching this video, and it's time for me to say thank you once more, and keep on subscribing. And you know, I'm planning my next trip. It's gonna be a good one, this one. Yes, I'm really excited about it. So keep subscribing to this channel, share, like, and just let's spread the love and joy of this amazing world. And I'm gonna show it and share it with you through my lens. So thank you for all my subscribers. Share, you know, share this page with your friends, like it. You know, if you like the video, it makes my algorithm go up and more people see what I have to offer. And thank you once more. See you next time.